Welcome to summer edition of What's Cooking at My House. And I thought, what better way to start a summer edition to the show is doing a Kansas City style barbecue sauce. And there are a lot of advantages to doing your own sauce, and I'll explain those as I go. The recipe comes out of this smoke and spice recipe book, but you want to think of this recipe as a starting point because one of the advantages of making your own barbecue sauce is you can adjust it to your own taste, and not only own taste but also texture and those kind of things. So it gives you a lot more variety in what you want to do with it. If you're like me, most of the stuff you buy out of the store tends to be a little too sweet for me. I like something a little savory and a little spice. So anyway, here we go. So we're just going to follow this basic recipe, and I'll make changes, or I might adjust it as we go a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix most of my ingredients in the bowl because I'm going to saute the onions and the garlic, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. So what I like to do is mix it all in the bowl, and then we'll transfer that into the pan. So first thing, I'm using a tomato sauce. The recipe calls for a puree, and calls for a cup. This is more than a cup. I'm going to use a whole can. So already I've kind of altered the recipe a little bit, but it's okay. It's barbecue sauce. And what you're looking for in a barbecue sauce is balancing the different flavors and bringing out the ones that you like. So that's what we're going to attempt to do tonight. So I have my tomato paste, my cider vinegar, and that is 3/4 of a cup. So that's about 3/4 of a cup of vinegar. Just going to pour that right in. Now, the vinegar adds a little bit of zippiness or a little bit of tanginess to it. So I'm going to alter again because I like mine to be a little more on the biting edge. So I'm going to add a little more vinegar than what it calls for. Now you might want to stick to the recipe the first time you do it and see what you want to adjust for the next time. Now, using brown sugar, again it calls for 6 tablespoons, and you want to pack it. Now, two, 3. And use the rest of this, it looks like. I have to go in deep. I think, yep, I'm just going to finish this off. Tell you the truth, I lost count a little bit, but like I said, I don't like mine too sweet. So we have our vinegar. Now chili powder. The last time I made sauce, I used my ancho chili sauce, or chili powder. Did I say chili sauce?
You did say chili sauce.
Excuse me, chili powder. And I have my ancho chili powder. And again, this is to taste. So you want to do 4 to 6 tablespoons. I'm using an ancho chili powder. Has a little more heat on the index than your regular. And this is all I have left from the last time I made sauce. So that was about 3. So I'm going to have to use just regular chili sauce. Hopefully. All right. I'm going to fix this and we'll be right back. Okay, got my chili powder working now, so I can get some more in. I already added another tablespoon. It stopped working again. All right, so I am at roughly 5 tablespoons of chili powder. Now, our next step, tomato paste. A quarter cup of tomato paste. This is, I'm using my tablespoon, but just from practice, I already knew that there was about a quarter cup of tomato paste in here. All right. 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire, I'm not sure how you say it, but we're going to use 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. This might be something else. Depending on your taste, you might want to add just a little bit more of that and give it a little more zing to it. Celery salt. I'm going to do about 3 teaspoons. Two, 3, the celery salt. Oh, I forgot an ingredient. I'm gonna have to go get some mustard. We'll be right back. All right, I found my mustard. We're gonna do just 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard. Well, maybe a little bit more. All right. And that's it for now. What we have left to add to this is pepper and water. And we'll do that when it's on the stove. Right now, I'm going to get my onion ready. Now, I love onion, but it's not the flavor I want forward in my barbecue sauce. So the recipe calls for a medium onion. I'll probably do a little less than that. And then you just want to make sure that you get it nice and fine. So I'll finish cutting these onions, and then we'll add the onions. I'll use my garlic press for the garlic into the pan. We'll saute these first, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. So we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I've finished cutting my onions. I've chopped them up fairly fine. And now I'm going to add them to a pan with about a tablespoon of oil. And we're going to saute that with the garlic for about 5 minutes. So two cloves of garlic. Over medium heat. Now, I'm going to saute this for about 4 or 5 minutes so they start to soften up, and then we'll add our other ingredients. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, while I was sauteing these onions and garlic, I remembered my corn syrup. 1 tablespoon, I just added that into the sauce. So now, we're just going to pour it in. And I'll reduce the heat just a little bit. Did that backwards to the camera, didn't I? So I'm just going to add that all in. Now I'll add the black pepper. Again, to taste. Recipe calls for about a tablespoon. I can adjust that as I go. And then I'm going to add some water. So this is another area where, depending on what you're going to use it on, depends on how much, how thick you want it, and how much water you want to add. And I'm going to cook this down till I get the consistency that I want. So depending on what you're going to use it for, you're going to use it on your veggie burgers. You might like it a little bit thinner. If you're going to use it on something more robust like ribs, you might want it thicker.
Baked beans.
If you want to add it to baked beans. Again. Or if you do like I do, and I'll use it as a dip. So we'll cook this down, maybe 20, 30 minutes, and we'll check back in 20 or 30 minutes. All right, I've lost track of time, but time isn't the important piece here. It's how thick do you want your sauce? And I can just tell this is about the thickness. We're getting close to what I wanted. And so before we got there, I thought I would tell you, I've been stirring this fairly often as it's cooking down. This is actually a lot like a good pasta sauce. It's about evaporation. So I added about 3/4 of a cup of water, and you let that evaporate, and it draws those flavors together. So this is looking pretty good, and you might, well, I have to tell you, so Kansas City BBQ sauce. Now, I'm from Denver, Colorado, but my family is from St. Joe, Missouri, which is just north of Kansas City. In fact, in my family, I was the first one that was not born in St. Joe, Missouri since the Civil War. So, barbecue sauce is something I'm familiar with. My cousin actually, she made the best barbecue sauce. It was terrific. And way back when security was different on airports, I remember going back to Kansas City and visiting family and coming back here with a big jar of my cousin's barbecue sauce. So now, the thing about people and like my cousin who had a catering business and it was wrapped around her sauce, those recipes are so secret you can't get a hold of them. But this one, it's a good start. You can adjust it as you go. And I think I am just about where I want it. I'm going to turn this heat off. You can look. You can see that's about the consistency that I want. So, there's a Kansas City style barbecue sauce. Give it a try. You can adjust those flavors to your particular taste. You can adjust how thick you want it. Last time I made this, I made it pretty thick, almost like a paste. This one is a lot thinner. And remember, alla tavola non sei vecchio. At the table, you do not age. And that is what's cooking at my house.